All
Adam
right.
Howell is a independent filmmaker and writer based in Boston. How you doing, man? Thank you for joining us.
What's good, man? Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're gonna hop directly into our show for today. The first segment is gonna be Joy Reid gets fired from MSNBC. Tamisha, what's going on with her?
I mean, she came into work and that was that. I think people are saying that this might be, the DEI remnants for at
Mhm.
MSNBC. I'm sure they still want to be in the favor of the current political climate, so maybe that's why. Some people are screaming that people weren't watching her show, so that's why she lost her job.
Right.
But the ratings actually show that on Tuesday nights, she brought the ratings up for that time slot, which is why someone else is in that time slot now. So
So it
people
wasn't the
are.
short haircut.
It, no, it was not the short haircut.
Okay,
It
I
was
just asked.
not the short haircut. She liked to switch it up a little bit. She had her vacation braids in sometimes.
Mm, mm.
But
So yeah,
yeah, it's
go
I
ahead. I'm
just
sorry about
feel,
that. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say that I just feel that the message that it's sending is they might not want to be hearing our voice that much on MSNBC. I mean,
Mm,
the only person we have in the lineup that's an African American right now that has a regular show is Al Sharpton.
right.
I mean,
Well, I mean, they are replacing her time slot with Simone Sanders Townsend, who is an African American woman. So it's not like they're completely just removing her and not, you know what I'm saying?
but does Simone have the following that Joy does?
Well, so a lot of people are saying, because I had to look into this, myself, and they
Mm-hmm.
said that she's too aggressive, she's constantly screaming, and I can't relate to her.
Too aggressive.
That's what they're saying.
People openly said that a black woman was too aggressive.
I'd say passively aggressive until a lie
Okay,
match.
okay, okay, okay. So
Well,
you feel like
regardless if
she's
it's
passively
passively or too
aggressive,
aggressive,
and
aggression is
they can't.
aggression.
Who can't relate to her in the poll? Like who are they polling?
Black
I'm not
men.
sure, but
You're
it
not
was
sure?
just it
Okay,
was it was people who said that they watch her show and then they stopped watching the show because they felt like she was too aggressive and they couldn't connect with her. So I get it.
okay, I get it.
So Jen Psaki is also she's going to be moving to prime time.
Hmm.
She has like a noon show or something like that. Roderick, how do you feel about this?
I feel I feel that there has been a consistent um, rise in shows that are black-led shows. Somehow, no matter how many people watch them, um, they they either get cut or they get discontinued.
Hmm.
There's a lot of shows that have been on other networks that are in similar situations, and I used to think like, wow, before I did some research, like, wow, they're getting cut. There must not be enough people watching them, but a lot of the shows actually have a lot of people watching the show, so I don't think it's related to that. It would lead me to believe that there's only one other thing. It could be I know a lot of people that watch the show. I know a lot of people. I also know that networks and certain people get nervous when they have certain people leading shows. She's a black woman. In regards to that, people also like the people that I know. A lot of people I know again is influenced by her show, and so I think that definitely, especially in this political climate, has something to do with it.
Hey, Terrence,
Adam?
I was going to, and Roderick, I was going to jump in if that's okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I do think that it has everything to do with the political climate that we're in right now. She is clear. She was clearly, against Trump and outwardly said it. I think that I mean, for us to not pay attention, to think that Trump doesn't pay attention to this stuff, or that that this current administration doesn't pay attention to it. Once he was in power, he's able to move and shake and do things to manipulate however he wants it to be. So I think this is a direct relation to him getting in office and you know making some changes in things that he can control. Because I mean, honestly, I think he can control it.
Well, but if her show is not doing well and people no longer want to watch her, just like anything in show business, it got to go. You know what I mean? Like they removed the slot and they said, okay, we're gonna replace her with somebody else. There's nothing wrong with that. Adam, I mean, you're in filmmaking. This happens all the time, right?
I mean, yeah, it's a regular thing, man. But I believe that when you don't own like whatever platforms that you're in, these are the type of things you got to deal with. It's just like building a house in somebody else's backyard, basically.
Mm.
So as long as you got to keep on going through that, then this is going to be the issue. Like I believe that in almost any and every industry. When it comes to us dealing with these type of things.
Do you guys feel like this is going to change the image of the network and the direction of it?
I think that's the intention.
Hmm.
I do think
So
attention.
I'm gonna take a different angle on this. I agree with y'all on part that it's the current political climate that's leading to this. That's for sure. But I'd also look at this from a money standpoint, a financial standpoint. Right, her angle on everything is anti-Republican, anti-conservative, anti-Trump. And in the current political climate where they have the House, they have Senate, they basically have the Supreme Court Justice, and they have the executive office. If NBC, who has some of the worst ratings, wants to remain relevant, they kind of have to get rid of people like that. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. But if they want to remain relevant and they want to get views, then they have to shift with the political climate. The political climate back when she really took off at the beginning of Trump's first term, like that's not when she really took off, but she really took off around that time is because there was a taste for it. But we've seen that shifted. And now that it's shifted, the people who have been the loudest, the proudest, and the most consistent in critiquing everything that is in current power today, yeah, they're gonna be on the chopping block. Again, I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong, but I don't think it's necessarily so much race. I think it may have a more financial backing or background to this.
Well, all right. Well, she's gone. We're gonna move over to the next segment. A mother was
Yeah, I'm
arrested
here.
for leaving kids alone, 4 to 5 years, for about 4 to 5 years. There's three kids. Roderick. Well, actually, no. This is Kevin. Kevin Brown. You brought this to light. What's going on with this?
So
Behind.
it came across on TikTok, well, not TikTok, X, came across on X, and I read a few additional articles on it, and they all have the same perspective, which is this is what happened to the kids. It's so unfortunate, which is 100% valid. Like it's the worst conditions that a kid should be in or anybody should be in. And there was one quote in there from the kid that was talking to one of the officers, and they asked him, "Have you ever stepped outside of the house before or stepped outside of the apartment?" He said, "Yeah, maybe once or twice just to touch some grass." Like just to give you a little more perspective on the degree of like the squalor that they were living in and like how long and how deprived they were of human contact, and they didn't go to school. So of course they painted as much color on this as possible, but my confusion was left with where was the mother? We don't know anything about her aside from her name and the state that she lives in and what she did to the kids. But what's her condition? What was she doing this whole time? She had to sleep. She had to lay her head down somewhere. Why wasn't it here?
Mm.
And I'm just wondering, one, why I haven't seen this plastered everywhere, and two, why our community's activist groups aren't equally critiquing things like this. Granted, she may have mental health issues that just, give some reason to this, but why
Right.
aren't
So
we
I got a
just
question.
as
When
loud?
did this come out though? When did this is this brand new or did
Hmm?
this happen like years ago? When
Happened
did this come out? Huh?
recently this month.
This month.
Mhm.
Okay. Because if people didn't know about it for about 4 to 5 years and then suddenly it just came out, it's like, well, number one, who is this mother? Why is this story even important? And yeah, put her in jail or something. And then that's it.
Where's their father?
Yeah, where's the father?
He's just as
Equally good
equally
question.
he's just as equally responsible.
Agreed.
Right. And
Or whoever the fathers, who
I
knows? We don't know.
I think everybody's asking the same question. How does this go unnoticed for 4 to 5 years and no friends, no grandmother, nobody just came in and said, "Hey, what's going on here?" Right? So it's a sad situation. Should the mother be held responsible, or is this some type of failure of the system, Roderick?
I think that she should be held responsible, but I do think that it's a bigger issue in the community. connected to mental health because I mean nobody in their right mind would do this to their kid, right? And so I feel like there is some bigger issues related to mental illness. Because for example, if you were to lock her up, as she should be, right? Because she did that to her kids. If you were to lock her up, what is there are other people, there might be somebody down the street who is also going through the same thing because there's clearly some mental issues going on there. So I think there's a bigger issue in the community besides just locking her up.
Mm. So earlier today, when we, decided to talk about this, Kevin was
Mhm.
going back and forth with Roderick. Kev, you had a certain position on it. Roderick, you had a certain position. Did you want to chime in on that, Kev, real quick?
I mean, I think we generally agree. I just believe, like, yes, foregoing any mental health issues. If she's doing this and she's of sound body and mind, throw the book at her, right? But there is a high probability that she is dealing with some sort of mental health issue. So Roger's correct. We should be addressing this from both ends. We should penalize this so that it is a deterrent, but we should also be going into the communities and figuring out how does a situation like this matriculate? How does this come to existence? And what can we do to prevent it? What kind of preventative measures can we put in place? What financial resources, what community resources, what can be done to make sure that if a mother of sound body and mind feels like she can't do it and decides to do something like this, leave her kids alone, fend for themselves, what can we do to give her a little light at the end of the tunnel? What can we show her is available to say, okay, you're not alone. You can do this. We can help you. Here are the resources available. And how can we get that in as many communities as possible that may go through something like this?
So who found the kids? Who found out about this story? How did
From
this come to light?
From what I gather, it was the neighbors. So they noticed like the kids like emaciated coming out to like retrieve the food because it was the oldest boy that was picking up the deliveries of prepared food from them, like from their mother or whoever was delivering it. And so they just were spotted one time and then they called the police or human child protective services. Call child protective services, police come in, they see the condition of the home and it's like a hoarder. There's feces everywhere, bathtub, bathroom. The boy was sleeping on a mattress on the floor. The girl was sleeping on cardboard boxes. So it was the neighbors that saw them. It,
Mm,
it was happenstance.
wow. Sad situation. Tamisha, did you know her or no?
No, I do not know
All
her.
right, I didn't know if you knew her or not. I just asked.
That's crazy.
I can't with him.
I didn't know if you guys were friends or not. I just had to ask.
No, no, we aren't, Terrence. We are not
I
friends.
mean, I just know that you have a large, group of friends. So,
It is
I didn't
not
know.
that large.
Okay. All right. So moving over to the third segment, we're gonna go over to Roderick. Erosion of DEI initiatives. How federal rollbacks are impacting diversity. Rod, you want to touch on this?
Yes. So I think, and I believe, based on what's going on, it has had a large effect on a lot of people, particularly people of color. In particular, I also have a sister that actually works for the government, and so it has directly affected a lot of people of color.
Okay. Now, as far as like professionals in the government agency, how exactly is it impacting them, you think?
A lot of them have lost their jobs. A lot of them have actually stepped down due to some of the things that have been asked of them.
Mm. Tamisha, you want to touch on it?
I mean, people have to do what's right for them. And if the administration is sending emails out, which we did receive, but we're contractors of the federal government, so we didn't have to answer their 5 points to see what we were
Hmm.
doing, what we did last week or this week. Um, but if some I'm like we're starting these checks and balances, I think at a weird level. I really think it needs to be from the head down. Like I don't understand why we're halting the things that people have been doing for years because of these checks and balances of efficiency. So I mean, people have to do what's right for them. If they have to step down, they have to step down. If they're gonna get fired, they're gonna get fired. But people have to do what's right for them, Terrence. That's how I feel about it.
Oh man.
I mean,
Kevin
I'm not going
Jones.
to work in the Department of Government Efficiency. I'm not.
Right,
I'm
right. Kev Jones, you want to touch on it?
Yeah, I do think that efficiencies need to be implemented. I think that's one part that I think that we all kind of lose sight in because everything fresh eyes, it can be done differently. Um, because it affects a lot of people, and I honestly really do feel bad, and I try to separate my feelings from what's actually going on. People are losing their jobs. They're losing their livelihood. They're losing everything that they know.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's coming across the board, you know, with what we're dealing with. I think a lot of people are going to start to look into how they can remove quote unquote waste for what they think is waste. How jobs are going to just be eliminated by different efficiencies as we get older, as the years go by, as technology gets smarter. It's a bigger issue than I think DEI. It's going to be an issue of the workforce period. I think there's going to be a lot of computers running stuff and people being out of jobs. And I just think that this is the start of that, and they're kind of using the DEI initiative kind of to start that process.
To blanket it. That's good.
Adam, within your expertise of filmmaking and television, stuff like that, is DEI impacting Hollywood in any way?
I mean, that's been impacting Hollywood before DEI, before it was a name for it, you
Hmm.
know. That's always going on right there. But I mean, I think I think now what people gonna have to do, you really gotta get educated on like what's coming next. I think AI is really gonna be vital to, to the next few years going forward with like a lot of this stuff or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, because we got to get educated on it so we can learn how to use it so it doesn't I mean, the thing about it is like they're looking at AI to outsource and like to, replace people with that. But, you know, I think I do believe though, like if you really like do your research on it and like, start to play with it a little bit and study it, whatever, I think it can be an advantage for like a lot of us in these type of situations where we're just like still building from the ground up and want to do things of this nature, I guess, because that's always been a thing right there. They kind of like it's almost like a slur now how they use it, whatever. So I mean, I I think that I mean it is what it is basically, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't know. I can only speak from my perspective. I can't really speak for nobody else. I'm not really I'm not trying to like break in nobody's crib to get up in there. I don't really care what they're doing. So I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
that's just keep on building with people that want to build,
Mhm.
essentially.
What is DEI?
Thank you.
He's so annoying. Both
No,
of you.
no, thank you though.
It's just a question
No,
to the group. Like, I'm serious because like we hear multiple definitions all across the board. And so, in order to have a hearty conversation, what is DEI?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
I mean, but you can't define something by itself. So, what is it?
Well, originally DEI was put in place for because there was quite often there were times where black and brown people were overly qualified for the positions and they weren't getting the jobs. They didn't want black and brown people in leadership. And so it was supposed to be really it was supposed to be like an avenue for people to actually get the positions that they were actually qualified for.
And actually have like our Fortune 500 companies represent what the United States is supposed to be. Aren't we supposed to be a diverse melting pot of cultures? So like we have all these people that are in high places and CEO positions and who are billionaires, and then none of them look like me. None of them are black women. There
Mm.
might be a black man that's the same skin complexion as Kevin or Rod or
Yeah.
Adam.
Rihanna's a billionaire.
If I'm lucky, I might see one of y'all up there. But
Hey, yo, can I chime in
Oh,
for a minute? Like, can
yeah,
I?
go for it.
So, I just wanted to say that it's crazy too because if you see like a lot of black people in high spaces, right? Normally they got there by let's just be real. They put in more work than anybody. You know what I'm
of
saying?
course,
To get to that spot.
Right.
So
mhm.
it's just like I mean, when you look at, history all throughout history, right? Even like going back to like affirmative action and all that, like we never really benefited from that, like it was because it was intended for us.
Mhm.
But I mean, like statistically, we all know that, who benefited from that the most was white women.
There you go.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, so like I really don't understand. I mean, because I know like what is created for us to protect us from like discrimination and things of that nature and everything like that. But I mean, I really believe it's another reason to say like I'm gonna just keep it a buck. Like we don't want you here. We gonna keep y'all out. So you know what I'm saying? We just going
I'm
because
gonna have to
everybody
bleep
go
that
look
one
at
out.
the.
So I agree. So
I mean,
why
like
do we thirst so
I'm just
much to
saying.
get in their circles? And that's my
Because
that's
yeah,
my
I think.
confusion because to me, Tamisha, we do have black billionaires.
Mhm.
Rihanna's a black billionaire.
Mhm.
Beyonce is a black billionaire. Unfortunately, they're like in the entertainment industry or
Mhm.
sports industry or something like mainstream media. Uh,
Mhm.
that's the unfortunate part of it. But I'm just so confused on why we're so critical of the same people we thirst to employ us rather than like find an alternative. And
Because
I guess that's why I'm asking. Mhm.
as we start building the alternatives, Kevin, they dismantle them.
Yeah,
Don't try to sit here and act like we
I don't
haven't
disagree with that.
had these spaces that we have tried to build
Mhm.
Yeah.
to be not, and I'm not even going to say equally as good as their spaces, because I always feel like ours are better. I
Mhm.
just feel like we're innovative. I feel like we figure it out. If it's a problem, sometimes when it's not a problem, we figure it out. I don't feel like they are ever put in positions where they have to figure things out, but we
Do
do.
do you believe that's true solely for Black communities or for minority communities in general?
I think minority communities in
So
general,
why are Asian communities able to excel well beyond white people? Why are Hispanic communities able to excel beyond Black people?
because they broke down our sense of community and brotherhood and sisterhood and all of that.
Why can't we get it back?
I don't know,
Why can't
Kevin.
we?
Everyone, we need
I
everybody's
think that's the
buy-in.
question. I think that's the question that we should be asking though is
We need
why can we
everybody's
not
buy-in.
we can come together, but why can't we stick together and accrue the wealth that other communities have been able to do it better than us, unfortunately. And
Mm.
so that's why I'm trying to drill down on this. I agree with Roderick. I agree with your definition. DEI or affirmative action previously was created to get us into these spaces that we are qualified for, right? Because the bias or the favoritism or the nepotism allowed for these people to continuously circulate that wealth within their own communities based on prejudice. So I ask, why do we, if we know that and we critique that, why do we thirst so much to enter those environments as opposed to focusing more on our own communities that I agree, Tamisha, that they have over time systemically like crushed us, but we've done it once. Let's do it again and let's do it. Let's learn from our mistakes. And I don't think that's what's being done.
Well, you know why? Because it's easier for people to just talk about it, complain about it, talk about it, complain about it, and go in circles and circles and circles, but
I agree.
not come up with any type of solutions or anything about it. People like to talk about it and go in circles of this habit, but they're not bringing anything up. So, who's going to be the leader for that? Also, like
I mean,
who's in
as a
charge of that?
generation, I think like as a generation, I think we as millennials are like I think we could lead that charge. But it's just a very weird space to be a millennial. That's how I feel. I feel like you're trying to break so many generational curses and you're trying to also build so much. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. It's like can we come together? Can we get the buy-in of every black person or 90%? No, we can't, because
Mhm.
some of them are only looking out for themselves and
Mhm.
not looking out for the community, not understanding what we need for the next generation of people who look like us and feel like us.
Have you heard the phrase hard times build strong men. Strong men build easy times. Easy times build weak men. Weak
Mhm.
men build hard times. And that's how I see this like cycle. Once we came out of slavery, it was booming, right? Then, of course, you have like the Tulsa, Oklahoma thing, you have Jim Crow laws, everything like that. Then we get our civil rights, and now these are easy times. And I think those easy times took off a lot of the pressure to do it for ourselves, by ourselves. And now we're in hard times again. And I think it takes, to answer your question, I think it does take somebody to shoulder that weight. You're right. We are trying to break these curses. We are trying to build as we break these curses. We are still the most misfortunate community. Thug it out. Thug it out. Because if we do it, then our children don't have to do it.
You know,
Can I ask y'all this?
we
I got a question too. Go ahead.
yeah. Who
Uh,
said that?
do
Kev?
Evan
yeah.
and Joe.
Do y'all trust do you trust everybody in your community? Like, do you trust your brother? Do you trust everybody that you come in contact as far as like with people that look like us? Because I
With
think
it,
this is
As
the
opposed
problem.
to my counterparts.
Correct. I
Yes,
don't think I don't as a people, I don't think we trust each other.
that's true. That's very, very
And I
true.
think that's the issue right there. Until we trust each other, which is hard to do because like Tamisha said, most of us are only looking out for us, like their own self or whoever's closest to them. They're not looking at the next generation that's going. They're not even worried about that. They're just trying to survive. So if I'm over here trying to survive, how can I trust anybody else? And I think that's been programmed into us for
mm,
centuries. And I think that it's hard. And I'm not saying I'm not like I'm just saying that I'm trying to generalize why I think that we don't do this. We don't buy in because we don't trust it. We don't trust anybody. Like, just think about it like this: somebody gets money, that person kind of just does whatever they need to do, and that person with money probably won't put on the other person that's trying to get money because they don't trust that there's not enough room for everybody, so they're going to gatekeep, and I'm going to keep this to myself. And I think that our community is like that. We gatekeep a lot of things to where we have like we don't share information, we don't share resources, we don't share
But
anything.
why do you think that is?
A fear of
No, no,
losing
no.
it.
I agree.
You have a real
I
world
agree.
Fear of
example like
losing
that
it.
just recently happened. I ain't gonna put nobody on
It's
blast,
Right,
but like, you know what
exactly.
I'm saying?
But
Like,
why do you think that is?
The fear of losing, like losing out on something, or like he said, we ain't gonna speak on nobody, but it's just like I'm elevating you. Why shouldn't I elevate myself? Like I should be getting the same thing you're getting from me for myself. And it's like does that make you like how am I okay with you being my CEO when I can be the CEO?
ah, I'll get my
yeah,
2 cents on
that's a
this.
good point.
How do we do this? How do we build trust? We humble ourselves, right? For the
Humble.
people that got it, that's trying to put somebody else on, it we don't trust each other because we dog each other out. Let's be real about it, right? And because we don't dog each other out, if you dog somebody out that eventually got it and you look at them for a handout, you gotta humble yourself. Like it takes forgiveness on that person's end who is putting people on. But you, as somebody who's now asking for a handout, like respectfully know your place, humble yourself. And me personally, I'll give you a chance. Right? I believe in forgiveness. I believe in, lifting people up, even if, we didn't have the best relationship in the past. But, I think pride is our worst enemy in our community.
So
Right.
I'll say this, and I think Roderick, you have something to say. I want to come to you.
It's
Actually, I'm
so
gonna go
it's
to you
okay.
right now. I'm gonna go to you right now. Go ahead.
It's
Go ahead.
just three
Go ahead.
three quick things. The first thing
Yes,
that I want to
please.
touch on is that I heard the word thugging it out, and I want to go on record and confidently say there's not a person on this call that probably hasn't thugged it out. You know what I'm saying? So we know all about thugging it out, but we have to understand that this issue and these issues are bigger than just these one instances, right? And so what I mean is that like sometimes when it comes off as we're complaining about things, anytime you make a strategic plan, you cannot make a strategic plan to be successful without mentioning where we came from, where we currently are, and where we need to go. And so sometimes when you hear people talking about different things, it's because we have to talk about those things to get to the next level. We had to talk about those things to figure out how can we get to the next level, right? When we talk about like black and brown people not trusting each other, it goes all the way back because we don't always have all the opportunities. So when we do get something, we're so excited about it, we're scared of losing it, right? And so those things are important because it really shapes the way people respond to things, how people interact. And so the issues are much bigger than the things that we're talking about. It does go back. You know what I'm saying? Because it depends on where you were raised, who raised you, the traumas that they have, if those traumas have been passed down to you. So some of these things are not just simple. And the reason why I'm bringing this up because it just reminds me of, if you I'm going to give you an example. I was in a room before and I've heard a group of white men talking about, they were like, I don't understand why people credit are bad. Why don't they just pay their bills? And when I heard them say that, I'm like, that sounds simple, but that's not really how things are, especially depending on the adversities that your family had to overcome. And so when I hear stuff like, I think we just owe it to us to be a little bit more responsible when we're talking about things because we thug it out. We thug it out so much that that's why we don't trust each other sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So we thug it out. So when you hear people talking, they're tired of thugging it out. They're tired of things being advantages. So now some people feel like they finally have made it to where they're stable. And then you might have people going through different adversities. And now they're scared that they might pull the food stamps away because they might have already lost their job and they're depending on the food stamps to eat, right? With the food stamps, I can speak for people here in Georgia, you only get 150. So 150 divided by the whole month is not a lot of money. You know what I mean? You get more money if you have children, but some of those different things, those are like real life things that people rely on to live. And so we just got to take some of those things in consideration.
But you
So
can't
let
be
me
on
hold
you
on.
can't be on food stamps for 10 years though.
You
Right?
Right.
You
can't.
got to
You
have some
can't.
type of cutoff.
But when I say thug it out, I don't mean thug it. I don't mean endure your current circumstances. I mean grind it out, shoulder that weight that'll advance you out of your current circumstances.
We have,
That's what I
Kev, though.
mean.
We have, though. We
And we should
have.
continue. And we should continue.
How
That's
long,
what everybody
Kevin?
has to do.
For
Huh?
how long, Kevin? How
Tell
long
Until
till
we
you
learn how to work together and learn how
tell
to
me
trust each
how
other
long,
and
Kevin?
learn how to
10 more
circulate the
years?
black dollar. Learn how to circulate the black dollar. Until we figure that out, that's how long we need to thug it out.
Well, I mean, we talked about some of this on the first episode,
Yeah.
right? And we're talking about it again. And I'll say the same thing that I said for the first episode. I don't think that those people, whether it's Hispanic, Asian, Caucasian, Indian, et cetera, are having these conversations. They're just taking care of business at the end of the day. And that's just personally how I feel about it. We're talking about, well, we got to start from scratch and we got to figure it out and we got to talk about where we came from and how it all started. Do we really? Or
Uh,
do we figure out
We
where we're at
do.
right
they having
now?
those
All
conversations
of
Yeah, I
us
think
now.
there's
those
They having them
value in
now,
that for
conversations
Kev.
sure.
are
They having the
Why?
having those
conversations now.
conversations,
Why?
Eric.
Why is it value in that if everybody's constantly talking about that and start from scratch?
No, no, no. I don't think
Eric.
there's value in constantly talking about it. I think there's value in understanding your history as to not
Mhm.
repeat the same
Okay,
mistake.
is
But,
anybody on this
yeah,
call, are you confused about the history at this point
thank
in
you. I agree.
2025?
I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you.
No, we're not
Okay.
confused about
So we're done with that. We checked that off.
So look
Got it.
forward.
We talking about today, though. The history connects to today. We were talking about today. We ain't even talking about the history all the way. We talking about today.
History connects everywhere. We
I'm
just
just
at some
saying. We
point
talking about today.
we have to stop looking back. We have to stop looking down at the present, and we have to start looking forward. Like we know our mistakes. We should come up like you said. We should come up with proposed solutions for our mistakes because again, only people that's going to help us are ourselves. Time and time again, that's been proven to us. So learn from our mistakes, propose solutions for our mistakes as a community, and then progress and activate and actualize those proposed solutions. I don't think it's that difficult.
And
We know where we
People aren't
falter,
doing
You
that,
don't
though.
think it's that difficult. You don't.
Another thing I want to say really
but that's a
quickly.
mindset. I don't, but that's a mindset.
I
T and
know,
we
Kev,
have a
but
similar mindset.
I
Why
know,
can't
but
we
that's
all
two
adopt
out
that
of
mindset?
a hundred of y'all. That's two out
Mhm,
of y'all that have
mhm.
that same mindset.
And that's the issue with our community is a lack of cohesive thought, a lack of cohesive efforts. We have short attention spans, and we like to romanticize the worst parts of our communities. Let's change our mindset.
I hate to say this because I don't know where this clip is gonna go. I don't know once we post it up to TikTok how people are gonna respond to it.
Yo, I got something right. So
I can I
Let
say
Adam
this?
say what he got to
Can I
say.
say this really quickly before I forget, Adam? Hold that thought, please, bro.
yeah, no, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
I feel like, I don't have any kids, but they're coming. I'm sure in the next like 2 to 3 years, I'm gonna work on it. I'm gonna do what I gotta do and make it all happen, right?
2 to
And with
3.
that, yeah, at least 2 to 3. And with that being said, the only obligation that I have is to take care of my household and
See,
start right there. And
Terrence, you're part of the problem.
no, I'm not a part of the
No,
problem. I'm
no.
not a part of the problem. But that's where it starts and that's where it begins because I need to teach my son, my daughter, and everything else on how to make it out and tell them their history and where we started and everything else. But it starts in my house and how we need to get ahead. And then they can teach their kids and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if there's somebody in my neighborhood, I could say, hey, come over. Let's talk about finances. Let's watch this podcast. Let's do this. Let's do that. But if people don't want to do that, there's nothing that I can do because you have to want to change your circle as well
Yep.
and your environment.
Yep.
You have to want to learn. So I can't grab the whole community and be like, hey guys, let's go.
But you can
You
do your
know,
part.
but it starts with what we're doing right now on this screen, this podcast, this show, and hopefully people tune in and find some type of value and say, okay, I'm going to watch this every episode to learn, but it's up to them. Adam?
No, I was just gonna say basically like, yo, do we really want to? I mean, because we gotta keep it a buck, right? Do we really want to build like with everybody, opposed to just like building with the people that's already there? Because I think like a lot of energy is wasted on trying to get somebody to a certain place or whatever, to get them to that point, you know, to try to awaken them or to get them to a certain point of consciousness where they should, you know, want to do this or whatever. Because you got to ask people what they want too, right? Like, what do we all want? Like, do we agree? Is there like a collective that we can, a central idea that we can come, you know, to agree on to work towards that? Because I'm gonna be real with you, like I think a lot of people have great ideas and all that, but then some people want to like, you know, feed the machine more, and some people want to like get away from the machine. So like I think that's where you get to this tug of war when it comes to like a lot of things too. Because I mean, I'm gonna be real with you. I have no interest in feeding the machine, like none. I don't want to. I just think like I mean, we got results that, you know what I'm saying, like that works to an extent. But then it's like we got to start thinking about like, you know, the kids coming up after, like the next generations and all that. I'm talking like 20, 30, 50 years, 100 years from now and all that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm thinking like that when it comes to, you know, going up into those machines like that.
So, two things. Earlier, you said that the only people that benefited from, I can't remember what we were talking about. I think you said white women or something like that.
From
Um,
affirmative
Oh, the
action,
people.
yeah, that's right,
Mhm.
Tamisha.
the highest percent.
How so? Can you please enlighten me on that,
I mean,
Adam?
because I mean, they was the ones that got the real opportunities, you
Hmm.
know. It's just like, come on, like, I mean, we was talking about this, we spoke on this off camera about DEI, and we was talking about like how essentially that's the new version of 40 acres and a mule right there. You know, that was promised back in the day, and then when it's time to pay up, it's like, oh, I ain't got it,
Either
you know.
way.
So I mean, it's the same thing what they're doing with this right now. Like I said, they overreacted, you know, during COVID with George Floyd and everything like that. And they basically said, yo, like, yo, what y'all want? What can we do or whatever? But now when it's time to pay up, it's just like, again, I ain't got it. You know, every time it's time to pay up, I ain't got it. They
Hmm.
do that. They run the same play all the time. And we take the bait. We take the bait all the time.
We do. That's very true. They'll name a street real quick and have everybody all happy. I don't need a street.
Well, I mean that, and then different historic landmarks and stuff like that. Roderick, we're gonna talk about Wallace, Louisiana. What's
Yes.
going on over there?
All right, I'm gonna read this from my notes as I want to make sure I'm clear. But Louisiana officials have withdrawn 11-mile stretch of the Great River Road for consideration as a National Historic Landmark, citing economic development priorities. The decision was influenced by the Trump administration and has sparked backlash from community groups who argue it threatens um, the preservation of Afro Creole cultural legacies and historic sites tied to formerly enslaved people. The region, located in Louisiana's heavily industrialized chemical corridor, is among the most climate vulnerable areas in the U.S. Critics say the move prioritizes industry over heritage, while state officials celebrate its victory against federal oversight. And so it kind of like ties a little bit into it ties a little bit into gentrification. And by blocking federal recognition, the state is limiting protections that could safeguard those sites from industrial enrichment. So I wanted to just mention that because that's like an environmental issue that a lot of people don't talk about.
Okay.
I got a little 2 cents on that.
Wait a minute, why is Terrence laughing?
He ain't going to Louisiana and he ain't going to see this historical industrial site.
Definitely
He
not.
don't care. That's why.
Terrence, is that why you laughing?
We don't have his buy-in. He does not care. That's why you laughing. Kevin Brown, what were you about to say?
I actually, I mostly agree with Roderick. On
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? I'm so diverse. And it was RFK Jr. during a Black History Month event out here last year that kind of like shifted my perspective on this. And it was more of a environmental take, and because he was speaking as an environmental lawyer, he was speaking a lot on how these big industries come in and they choose, minority communities to put these facilities in, and obviously it's going to negatively affect their health. And the issue with that is versus like that happening in a more affluent community is in our communities, we don't have the resources or the advocacy or the representation on a local level to fight that. Like, let's use Beverly Hills for an example, and the metro that they want to like put straight through there. There was going to be a stop in Beverly Hills, but this affluent community shut that down based on, the connections that they have, the money that they have, whatever it may be. We don't have that same weight to throw around in these communities. So obviously, it's a lot easier to implement or to build these facilities that are going to most negatively affect people. I hate that term, minority communities.
People
So
of color. You about to say
yeah, I
that?
hate that term. Hate it.
Yeah.
Y'all basically letting them call you colored people. What kind of
It is. I mean,
crazy?
it is. It's probably that's probably how it's written on their little memo.
Nuts.
So,
I don't
all
like
right.
the, I don't like the term minority either. Like I can do without that too. I
I
mean,
can
I get you
rationalize it
gotta,
with statistics.
yeah. I mean, I get we gotta use it and all that, but I don't like that either. I don't refer to myself as a minority, but that's what they want us to do. But that's a whole nother conversation right there. But I don't like that either. But yeah.
So I'm a little confused because Roderick, maybe you said it, but
Mhm.
what happened there in this part of Louisiana? Like, what is the history behind it? Educate me, please.
So not only are they
And the
blocking
audience, because I'm sure they're confused too. I never heard this before.
yeah.
Yeah.
So not only are they blocking federal funding, recognition, it's basically limiting protections that could safeguard these sites from industrial. So basically, um, the area is already affected by pollution and different things like that, and so it just really just makes the it makes things even worse in those areas. And just to tap into a little bit more, I know you mentioned kids earlier, is that sometimes these things seem like don't affect us, and also, Terrence directly. Sometimes when these things happen in these areas, this just be the beginning of them happening in other areas. We know there's a lot of rural areas in Georgia, right? And so some people actually have family members that live in these areas. So when they're building stuff and they industrializing stuff, they're pushing Black people out of their homes and pushing them out of the neighborhoods. And so that's like a big issue, especially for people in small towns like that in Louisiana, who some of them, they live there their whole life. It's only the beginning, Terrence. It's only the beginning, is what I'm saying.
They do it all through. They've done it all up and through South Carolina, where my family is. So it's just now it's big. It's big in Louisiana, and it'll be big in Georgia, and it'll be big in Florida.
Well,
And also to add, those plants also cause pollution that also cause cancer in those areas for people who can't afford to move out.
mhm. Well, if you have a 401k, you can
Oh,
possibly borrow from it. Kevin Jones,
Not
coming
if
over
you
to
have
you.
a 401k you can borrow.
So
Terrence,
that
you
way you
crazy,
could get
man.
out of Louisiana.
Get
Uh,
out of Louisiana.
Kevin Jones.
Told you.
Yes, sir. So, as you guys know, I'm in the retirement industry, and I get this question a lot with family members, things like that. So, what's the difference between a 401k and an IRA? So, the difference is contribution limits. That's That's literally the main that's the main issue. Not that that's the main difference. So in IRAs, you can only contribute $7,000 a year. If you're over the age of 50, you can do another thousand. They call it quote unquote catch up because you're getting close to the retirement age. So you can contribute 8,000. In 401ks, you can contribute $23,150. And if you're over the age of 50, you can contribute an extra $7,000 in that. So you can bring it up to 30,000, I think 31,000, I believe it is for 2025. So most people talk about, well, what kind of investments are things I can do to get into this? So with 401ks, you are subject to your plan rules to whoever you work for, whoever the investment manager, whoever that is, advisor to the plan. They come up with the funds that you can put money into. With IRAs, you're not subject to that. You can invest in anything you want, stocks, things like that, because you're offered everything. Um, so I just wanted to kind of talk about the differences in that, in what IRAs can do for you and what 401ks can do for you, and if you invest in both, you can combine those totals once you're at retirement age.
Now, someone just starting their career, which one would you recommend, Kev?
Both.
Just both. Just hop in.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And I would do Roth, and I'll
Mhm.
tell you why. I would do Roth for both. Roth IRAs or Roth contributions are tax free. Not they're tax free going. You already pay taxes on what you contribute, right? So, but there is a rule. It's called the 5-year bake rule, where you would have to leave your money in your account for 2 to 5 years in order for you to achieve that tax. You won't get taxed on money going out.
Mhm.
So it's called a Roth basis. So you will want to start as early as possible so you can get that Roth basis, and then as you build and build and build and you accrue. If you said you wanted to take a distribution for something, you can do that, and you can get it tax free. So I would recommend a Roth.
Kev, I got a question
Yeah,
just
man.
on your contributions and your the disbursements. Um, let's say in this basis, let's say you opened the account 10 years ago, right? And so you've crossed that 5-year threshold, but technically the most recent 5 years is still subject to that, or would the most recent 5 years worth of contributions be subject to that basis as well? So it's just the account itself.
The account itself. Once you reach
Okay.
that, anything after that, you're fine. Like you can
I
take
see.
it. And since you brought that up, Kevin, I did want to. There are different distribution rules. So you're subject to with 401ks, you're subject to plan rules where you're subject to you can only take out hardship loans, things like that, to where and you can be penalized on that as well. Like there's an extra 10% tax that you if you're below the age of 59 and a half, you take money out. It's the same with IRAs, but you can take your money out for anything. So there's not an age limit. There's not there's not rules behind that. You're just going to get taxed that extra 10% plus the 20 that you will be on, plus the 20% that the federal government takes automatically, quote unquote, if you're still in that, if you're in not if you're out not out of the Roth basis, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's something that I think that people really because a lot of people just say, oh, I'm just going to put money in my 401k, and they just think the traditional, which is fine because it's tax free. You're not being taxed on it, but you're eventually going to get taxed, you know, whether you're 70 years old or however, like that money is going to get taxed.
Kev, I got a
So that's
question.
something that you would think about.
So if someone were to start this around like 24, 25, and now they're what, 67 or something like that, and they start taking some of this money out and all this other mess, maybe a 5 to 10% contribution. Um, how much would they typically have in there, give or take, you
De-
think?
Depends. If you're thinking about it like that for that long, and say if they just invested in the S&P 500,
Yeah.
that's they average I think 7 to 12% return
Mm-hmm.
on that money.
Mm-hmm.
You be rich. I mean, maybe not rich at
Yeah.
that point, but you probably pushing close to $1 million.
Okay. So that's what I was looking for. So now you're 67 or something like that. But you live up to about 90. Is that million gonna really help you from
Mm,
67 to 90?
Not really. I mean, because then again, when you once you reach the age, a retirement will quote unquote the retirement age of 72,
Mhm.
you must take out a required minimum distribution. So the government makes you take out money. It's not going to sit there, like I told you guys before, it's not going to sit there and not just get taxed. Like they're going to tax it.
Mhm.
So it's based off of how much money you have in that account, and the government makes you take that money out based off of how. So you're going to drain that money. So I mean, it's going to go until there's no more money left. So you have to take out that specific amount until there's nothing left. So, like you said, I mean,
This
even
is your
that,
401k or your Roth? They're
both,
forcing you to take out of it?
both,
Yeah.
yeah, you both, yeah,
Right.
it's
And
both.
and that's what I'm trying to figure out here because like
That's crazy.
now over the 20 years or whatever that this person is still living, you got to take all this stuff out, but is it still enough? And that's the whole point that I'm trying to get to.
It might not be because it depends on your living expenses and things like that. Like you're retired, so you don't have any money coming in. Like
Right.
this is the money that you're living off of.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's so important. I wish I learned these things when I was younger. I would have a lot more money saved up. I would have had both a 401k and a IRA. I would have did both because you're going. I mean, you're counting on both. But entrepreneurs, things like that, you can't get a 401k. It has to be plan sponsored. So that's why those IRAs I think are very important because you can save for your retirement just like anybody else. It's just like your contribution limits are just lower of what you can do per year. But yeah, your money could run out, so you have to find like another
You
source
got
of
to go back to
income.
work at the
Very
You
age
might
of
have to.
80 or 75.
You might have to. And it's
if you don't have any children that can take care of you,
yeah,
Terrence, yes, you
right.
will have to go back to work.
Well, that shouldn't be their responsibility, first of all, to take care of you. Like,
After your
that's
million
not why.
dollars ran out,
I mean,
I'm
it's
not
not
having
the
kids so they can take care of
responsibility,
me at
but they
85,
probably
90
would.
financially.
I mean, after my $1 million ran out, they ain't got no choice.
It's going to run out because they're going to like the government will take that money. Like
They gonna take it.
yeah. And if you don't, so let me explain this. So say if you miss a year or something like that, there's an excise tax that you're charged. So you'll be charged 50% of the amount that you would have taken out. They'll
Oh
take
my
that out the
God.
next year. So it's serious stuff. But like my father always tell me, he said Uncle Sam is going to get his, and that's just the way it is. No
That's in
matter what,
Texas.
you,
So,
That's
you
in
got to pay
I mean,
Texas.
so
taxes.
like, what are you
That's in
supposed to do?
Texas.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Wait,
Die.
Kev, can I
yeah.
run a thought process by you? Because I look at interest both ways, right? I'm practicing on practicing what I preach when it comes to this, but let me run this by you. Say I have a retirement account and I did the math and I'm expecting, let's say, 5 mil by the time I retire. And I'm taking, let's say, 5% of my account on a monthly basis as income, right? Obviously, I'm going to get hit with taxes. What's 5% of 5 mil? What is that? 50K? 5K? I don't know. But let's use percentages, right? Let's say I take 5%.
And you're living off of 5%
I'm
per month.
living off of
Okay.
5%, right?
Okay.
But like you said, the account itself, if you're in the S&P 500, is going to average 7 to 8%. Just generally looking at the math, so long as I'm only taking five less than the average that the account gets, I should maintain at least some sort of balance, should I not? So if that thought process is correct, should we not shoot for a lifestyle that we want to live based off a percentage that we want to take away from our account, which is under what the account averages year over year? That seems like a general thought process, a pretty good thought process.
Yeah,
You
that's pretty smart. It's pretty smart. But here's what I'll say about this.
gotta have the
So you're
means, of
taking
course.
yeah, you're taking that money out, right?
Yeah.
So it's counted as earned income. So when you file your taxes,
Not the
if the
last.
taxes are still around, it's counted as earned income. So you're still going to get taxed on
But
it.
not if
Yes.
it's a Roth, right? Because we are
No,
taxing the contributions.
correct. Well,
Mm.
which even if that's the case, it's still considered to be earned. So when you take it
Really?
out of that, now you're back to being a citizen.
Yeah.
I'm paying my
The
taxes.
account isn't being taxed, but
Right.
that money that you're taking out.
Right. It's the taxes that you're still going to have to file, no
That's
matter. Okay,
diabolical.
I made 50,000, and most of this was raw. Still 50,000, where you still going to have to, you're still going to have to claim it, and earn income for the year. So there's ways around me. You can try to, I'm learning about more things about putting stuff in trust and things like that to, minimize taxes and and leaving things, to your kids, and putting things more like where you can control the trust, and you don't own it but you control it. Putting it more in investment vehicles where maybe you invest in real estate or something like that that's going to bring you back a return from that money. But
or you could just build a GoFundMe page and raise close to
at
$600,000.
76 or 86.
And raise close to $600,000, especially when you have any type of legal issues, like my boy Luigi Mangione. Right now, Maggiano. If you know him like I know him, that's what we call him in the hood. But so why do you think so many people are supporting this guy despite his crime, Tamisha?
Because it was only a crime against that one person in the system of what healthcare is in America. I don't think he wants to kill anybody else. And I don't think anybody else thinks that he wants to kill anybody else. I think that
wild.
Yeah, that's just how it is. And apparently people feel that way. I mean, $600,000 for his legal fees. Mm-hmm. We know this man is never seeing the light of day again. But I'm just saying. And they send him more than that. I mean, he hasn't gone hungry. So
So you don't believe that he's a real threat to society?
I don't think he's a real threat to society. I honestly don't. I think he was upset about the situation. I think he made a plan. He felt that this CEO was in charge of what had happened to, it was his mother. It was his mother who went through the cancer treatments and all of that stuff, and then got denied coverage and all of that. So
would you say that the guy who shot Martin Luther King was a threat to society in any type of way?
He was a threat to Martin Luther King.
True.
And probably other activists that he didn't agree with. If he killed him. I mean, right. I'm a big conspiracy theorist about our civil rights activists.
Yeah.
Tamisha, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't Luigi Mangione from a very wealthy family?
Yep, sure was.
Okay. So
that doesn't mean that he don't deserve to have the same type of health care.
100%. But I'm just confused. If he was from a very wealthy family, and obviously he had like very expensive medical procedures and he was denied coverage, he's in a circumstance that most Americans are not in. And I'm sure, I would assume, that they'd be able to cover the fees without a problem. It's just they didn't want to. So is this such a virtuous act, or is it, more mental health issue than anything?
I think that man crazy.
Did you think he crazy?
Okay.
I don't think he's crazy.
He knew exactly what he was doing. I think he snapped. It was like, I think he did snap. Like, you know what? We shouldn't have to pay for it. I should have the same health care that this person's mama, that these people got for their mama when she had cancer. My mom's treatment shouldn't have got denied, especially if they had been paying into this insurance. And so, why are you denying us? Like, I feel like just because his parents probably could have covered it, and maybe they couldn't have. I don't know.
Don't get me. I'm just stress testing this. Don't get me wrong.
I'm not. I don't know if they could or could not. But just like I don't think it's a mental health issue at all, Kevin. I think he was like, you know what, you at the head. I'm taking your head off. That was it. He made his plan. He did what he did, and I feel like other people feel that same way, or they wouldn't be in big support of him, as big of support of him as he is.
Adam, how do you feel about
and publicly
about Luigi?
I just want to know how this will go down if he was a brother.
Oh, he'd be dead already. He wouldn't be on trial. Come on now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Would be. So you think this man would be? You think this man would be?
I think people would be screaming louder if it was black.
The people would be screaming louder because he'd be dead in a t-shirt.
No. And Okay, that's valid if you're assuming if this was a black guy and they found him at this fast food restaurant, they aired him out. They aired him out,
Well,
right?
they was gonna air him out.
But
Or
okay. If he had the same exact actions that Luigi Mangione had when the police rolled up on him, do you think he would have been aired out?
yes,
Luigi didn't pull a gun. It was
doesn't
in his
matter.
bag. It was in his bag. They only found the gun when
How
they
many
went through his
unarmed black
bag.
men are just shot because? Like, don't go there with me, Kevin.
How many black men kill each other? Like we can play this game all day.
That's not the situation. We're
It's
talking
not-
about
This
yeah.
is not the
this
situation. Of course
man
it's
would
not.
not have made it to trial. He wouldn't have been able to collect $600,000, Adam.
You
'Cause he
think they
was
would
dead.
have? You think the police would have walked in a fast food restaurant as soon as they saw this dude chilling eating a burger with a backpack on? They would have aired him out on site. You think that would have happened if this said black guy did the exact same thing that Luigi did, which is not resist, which is not fight, which is not pull a gun. I'm not stereotyping nothing, but this is just factual. That he did
I
not
need to know
do
the
anything.
percentage of how many black men have not been aired out in these types of situations.
I'm not trying to justify black men
No,
getting
I'm just
aired
saying.
out. I'm not trying to do that. All I'm saying is I don't think so. I think he would have been more of a martyr if he was black, poor and black, misfortune and black. I think he would have got much more support.
So I
If
see
he
from
survived, yeah, he would be a superhero. He'd be
What you said?
he'd be a superhero if he survived.
Right. So we agree.
Rod?
If he survived, Kevin, I don't believe he would have survived. It
Well,
would have been a
Oh,
very
okay.
long ride to
well,
jail.
he's not black,
And
so
when he got there, he wouldn't have been breathing. That's all.
Okay.
Roderick.
I think that I think there's just so many different things to think about. I mean, like some people are saying they came from money. Sometimes you can be in a family full of money and your family not mess with you, so you don't get any of the money. I think that his mom, she had cancer. So, for example, if your insurance is decent, you still have to sometimes pay $750 to $800 for each chemotherapy. So when you have like illnesses like that, those things are really, really expensive. And so I don't know what state he saw his mom in, and what happened, there. So that just makes me think like all kind of things. But then if we relate it back to race, I do think that if it was a black man, that like, yeah, people would have been like screaming. But again, I don't think he would have made it maybe through. And then secondly, I don't know if people would have been raising money for him and stuff like that. Not for that. I don't think. But those are my opinions.
I mean, if they did, they would have raised like $600 and that would have been it.
It wouldn't have been that
Patty,
650.
Patty.
Exactly.
I don't think they would have made it to 600K, but $600. maybe.
Enough for the funeral. It would have been a real
You
nice
don't
funeral.
think Joy Reid would have been the first one to speak on this?
Yeah, she would have been. She probably
Mhm.
would
So
have
all the
donated
attention
some-
that it gets, you think he wouldn't get as much money just because he's black? I like this dissonance is wild.
Yeah, for that situation, I don't think he would have got as much money. No.
Mm. Even if it wasn't the whole like you said, like they're praising him because he did it because of his mom, and it just would the story wouldn't have been spun to this vigilante sort of
Yeah.
like heroic act.
Nah.
The media would not have even spewed it that way.
Really?
Really? They would have
Yeah,
figured out that he
I'm
stole
curious
a
to know
pencil
where-
in the third grade, and they would have
Yeah,
been like,
I'm like,
former thief, yo, because of mother cancer.
I'm telling you.
That's what the headlines would have
Okay.
said. And Fox
All right.
News would have ate it up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna touch on our second to last segment, the LA wildfires, and people trying to get back on track and rebuild and find some type of funding and everything else. So, Kevin Brown, you want to chime us in on this? Catch us up to speed?
Word. So I really don't know a lot about it. I wasn't personally affected by it, so it's not at the top of my algorithm. So I had to do a little bit of digging. I thought it'd be interesting to touch on what does that look like and like how do I find what I assume to be quality resources, so on and so forth. And so to start off, obviously, we're doom scrolling everywhere. Social media is probably going to be the first place that we find our information. But from there, I typically go and I Google a couple different articles and I go on something called Straight Arrow News, which gives me a host of articles on specific topics, and they break it down by its it's a political leaning. So you'll see how many articles were posted for something like that was posted more in line with liberal views versus conservative views. And once you're reading into these articles, typically they're going to reference legislation that was proposed, if legislation was proposed. So that's where you hear about assembly bills, Senate bills, executive orders, so on and so forth. And from there, we got AI now. It can do half the work for us. We don't have to try to find the original source of something. We can plug in the exact name of the bill and it'll hyperlink directly to where you can find it. And a lot of the times I find that takes me to the state legislative website. And that's where you can punch in exactly what the bill code is, whether it's SB 10, SB 9, SB 140, whatever it may be, and you can actually read it for yourself. And I think we just fail to go that extra mile. And I promise you, most of this legislation is 1 to 2 pages long. So as you read through it, you'll understand that a lot of these proposals are built on each other. So you can take the time to go down a rabbit hole, put the phone down, put TikTok down, go through the rabbit hole, follow a bill and follow the history of the bill to see like, okay, what was the original intention with this? But also like, where is it landing now? So in regards to California fires, there's been an executive order by the governor which waives a lot of the permit requirements in order for developers to come back in and start rebuilding. I do have a little bit of beef with some of the Senate bill proposals, SB 9, SB 10, SB 140, which is built on those previous ones or the concepts of those previous legislations because it deals with rezoning and specifically it allows more units per parcel, which essentially means you can squeeze more people, more multifamily homes in a smaller parcel. And I think that's so disrespectful to the people who were affected by these California fires. It was lack of management that led to something like this happening, but now they're going to turn around and fund or not fund, but rezone these areas so that large developers can come in, give people pennies on the dollar for their parcel of land because it's going to take too long for insurance to pay out because they don't have the funds on hand to start rebuilding because the permit process is going to take too long because their job was lost during the fires. And I think that's so disrespectful. I think it's malicious 100%. And I think everybody should be hearing about this and everybody should be looking at the legislative calendar so they can see when these assembly committees or when these oversight committees are having their hearings so you can tune in and actually see what's happening.
All right. We got that.
Did you find anything on all the people who were dropped from their insurances, Kevin?
I didn't look into the insurance side of it, so I can't speak on that.
Well, we wish them the best.
Yeah, because you don't live there anymore.
Yeah, but my fraternity brother, Kevin Brown, he's out there, So, but if anything were to happen again, Kev, get on the highway and come over. You'll be
Going
good.
somewhere. It's too much happening in California.
Yeah. You'll be good, bro. So our special guest, Adam Howell, is here. I want to say congratulations to him. He just got his film into the International Mobile Film Festival out in San Diego. His film is called I Grant You Power. Adam, what is it about? And fill us in.
It's a short. It's essentially, I mean, I came up with the concept. It's a short film, whatever. But I came up with the concept. You remember the song by Nas, right? You remember I Gave You Power? You remember that song?
Mhm.
So I took that concept of like, the gun having a consciousness almost to a supernatural level, and combine that with the almost like the concept of venom, like a symbiote type of relationship or whatever, So like the individual, the character is actually like becomes one with the gun. So it's almost like I thought about like after the song, I'm like, all right, so where does that go after that? How do you like, how can you carry that on basically? So I just started like, coming up with different ideas and all that. And I just, shot it off the whim. And yeah, I mean, like you could check it out. I mean, I'll drop the link to you, but
Yeah, definitely. Let us know.
anybody
Yeah.
wants to check it out. But essentially, like that's that's what it is. I kind of like want you to check it out because I don't it's not because again it's a short film. It's not too much whatever going on. So I mean, essentially that's the concept right there. I took that the almost like the end of that, but I wanted to make it like a supernatural type of thing.
Okay. And how long is it?
It's like 3 minutes and 47 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
347, 348, something like that. Yeah. I want to say 348, maybe. Yeah.
And
Just under
I
four
grant.
minutes.
Okay, about 4 minutes.
Just under 4 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Earlier, in the show we were talking about obviously like, DEI and stuff like that and yeah, budgets and funding and all stuff like that. So for this film, what was that like for you to get this film made as far as a budget is concerned?
I mean, I just got resourceful. Just got resourceful. I just did what
Just
I had
thugging
to
it
do.
out.
Yeah, I've been exactly.
That's how you do it.
Exactly. That's all. Yo, that's the only language I speak right there. I can't, go around and like banging on doors like, yo, like I'm a grown ass man asking for money. Like, nah, I'm gonna figure this out right here. Like, I'm not gonna go around wasting time and all that doing that because once you start doing that, you lose like a lot of years out of your life because you're looking at it like, all right, well, I can try to go around and ask people for money or something like that. But then you can just say, okay, like what can I do? What do I have right now in my possession, like around me, my resources? What can I utilize to go get it done? And because I'm a writer first, I'm always writing things that I can shoot. I think a lot
Mm.
of filmmakers make that mistake because they try to do like Hollywood type of budgets, whatever, and it's just like, man, just like just write whatever you can shoot. If you got like a 1 bedroom apartment or something like that, or you got like somebody that owns a restaurant or something, write something around that or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then make it happen, whatever, and then just get it done and get it out and keep on doing it. I mean, like, if you're a filmmaker, that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, like that's the key. That's the key word in filmmaking is to make some, to make something, whatever. Like I'm not a fundraiser. I'm not wasting like 10 years. Like, yo, I gotta get this, yo. This is my dream project right here, yo. Like, damn, you've been working on that for 10 years, bro. Like, come on.
So so
Yeah.
I was I was going to like a bagel shop out in Los Angeles and I seen Adam like right before I had walked in and I was like, okay, this dude is working on something, right? So I see him like with his little computer, whatever, just typing away, just boom, 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 boom. I went inside, got my bagel, came out, and I was like, yo, should I ask him what he's working on? I said, yo, bro, like, how you doing, man? My name is Terrence. What you working on over here? And that's how I met him, just like that.
Yeah.
Walking
You and
up
your
to some,
chance meeting.
well, yeah, but like just
Uh,
to do that and walk up to someone and say, look, all right, you're a writer, I'm a producer. I know nothing about writing at all, but I have this idea. Can you help me out with it? And the rest is history. Like I had sat down
Yeah.
with him like 3 or 4 times. I had this idea and I had maybe about 25, 30 pages. This brother cut it down to about six.
Good job. Good job, Adam.
Down to about
Good
six.
job.
It goes back to what he said when he was like, "Oh, you have to be able to write what you can
Fight what
shoot." And
you
all
can
yeah,
shoot.
right, exactly. So I had all this crazy stuff in there. He scratched all of that stuff out. It was gone. You know what I mean? So,
I hope you
uh,
use the red pen.
it was no red pen. It was black or something like that.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, nah, that's important right there, man. Like, you gotta work within your resources or whatever you got. So I mean, that's just kind of what I did. And I shot it on an iPhone.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Like I've actually been getting comfortable with that too because these iPhones are getting crazy now too. So it's really about understanding like technique, lighting and everything like that. I utilize natural sunlight. um I did play with some other type of light and light indoors and everything, but it's really like I said, man. This is, I mean, T, like this is something that you learn by doing this. You got to keep doing it to learn. You can't just sit whatever behind a laptop, or just go to like 100 networking meetings or whatever. Go to like I'm going to this meeting, I'm going to this party right here, and it's just like, yo, you gotta do it, man. And I think people don't understand that filmmaking is not sexy. It's not at all.
Last question for you. What's next for Adam Howell?
I'm just working on like a few scripts right now that I'm like rewriting. There's something I want to shoot. I don't want to talk about it too much because I'm a
You
little.
could tell us. You could trust us, right?
Yeah,
We're
nah,
all in it
I'm
together, right?
bro, I'm
You
just
don't
a
want to
little.
trust us?
Nah, I'm a little crazy like that, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I'll probably like, if anything, I might work on another short. But like the feature, I'm rewriting a feature right now. That I do want to shoot. Like, um, if everything goes well, I'm gonna try to shoot it sometime like maybe in the fall or whatever. But like I
Okay.
just been rewriting process because I wrote it like this past summer, then I just put it away for a minute. And I just like, did a couple other projects after that. And I just got back to it. So I just been kind of working on that now. So yeah.
And how can everyone find your work?
You can check out, so my channel is called my benefit. I'm gonna drop the link for you. I'm gonna
Okay.
drop
And we'll put it up on the screen for sure.
put
Yeah.
it up on the screen. It's called
Okay.
Mine Ben Films, whatever. But I'm gonna drop the link for you. I'm gonna send you the link for all of that, and keep you posted all the details and everything.
And the
Yeah,
film festival is this May out in San Diego, correct?
I say
Or April. Okay, got it. All right.
April 25th to the 27th.
All right. Well, congratulations, bro. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
My
nice.
name is Terrence Edwards. Thank you guys for watching Say It. And for tonight, we talked about tons of things. You can find us every week, Wednesday or Thursday. We have my co-host Tamisha Blue, Kevin Jones, Roderick Smith, and Kevin Brown. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good night.